So now we've got our 4 rows of garter stitch knitting. What we're going to do is focus on doing the purl stitch, which is the second stitch that makes up knitting. We are going to knit the first 3 stitches because what we want is a garter stitch border that goes the whole way around. Stocking stitch tends to curl at the edges quite a lot because of the twist of the yarn. So by doing a garter stitch border, what you do is you stop it from rolling up at the ends because it can be quite unsightly and it's actually very, very difficult to get a curl out of stocking stitch fabric. So you're always best putting a bit of a selvage on it, and that's what we're doing here. So to do the purl stitch, what you want to do is bring this yarn around between these needles and you want to hold it in front of the work. The knit stitch is always in the back of the work and the purl stitch is always done in the front of the work, like so. So what we're going to do is look at how to put your needle in. So we're going to take the tip of the right hand needle, we're going to insert the needle from right to left, crossing the right hand needle in front of the left hand needle. So I've just show you where you want to put it. So you want to slide it through like so. So your needles will be crossed as they always are, but like I said, your right hand needle will be crossed in front of your left hand needle as opposed to the other way around. And then you're going to take this yarn and you're going to wrap it around your right hand needle. And then instead of pulling the stitch through the stitch on your left needle, you're almost pushing it through, so taking it backwards through that stitch. You want to pull it up onto your right hand needle and then drop it off your left needle. So I'm going to show you that again. You'd normally go in here to knit, but instead we're going to go from right to left, crossing the right hand needle over the left hand needle, and then taking the yarn around the tip of the right hand needle like so, and then you're going to take that yarn through the stitch that's on the left hand needle, almost pushing it back through, and then drop it off your left needle. So I'll show you that again. Insert your needle from right to left, crossing the right needle over the left needle, wrapping your yarn around the tip of the needle and pushing that yarn through the loop and dropping the stitch off your left needle. Right to left, right over left, wrap your yarn around the tip, push the stitch through the loop and drop the stitch off your left hand needle. So I think by rewinding it and watching it over again, you can probably get what you need to do from here. It is quite simple, it really is just a backwards knit stitch. So what I'm going to do, as always, I am just going to speed through the last few purl stitches, the last few stitches on my needle, and I'm going to purl right up until the last 3 stitches. So now I've finished knitting that first purl row. I have 3 stitches on either side that are knitted in garter stitch, and the centre stitches are all done in the purl stitch. When you turn it round, if you look very, very closely, you can see there's almost 2 V-shaped stitches stacked on top of each other. The stocking stitch will look like that the whole way up. It will be columns upon columns of sort of V-shaped stitches. And then you will have this garter stitch, the sort of bumpy garter stitch surrounding the project. So what you'll do now on this row is you will knit all stitches, including these first 3 stitches, and then you'll knit all of these which you previously purled, and then you'll knit these 3 as well. Then when you turn it over, you'll do exactly the same thing you did on the previous row. You will do 3 stitches in knit, the rest in purl up to the last 3, and then you'll knit those 3 stitches. And you'll continue in that way until you have a square, or almost a square of fabric, and then you're going to knit 4 more rows just like this at the bottom. So this is what it should look like when you've done all of your rows. I haven't done the last 4 rows of knit stitch, but as you can see here are these columns of the sort of V-shaped stitches, and if you look on the reverse side you can actually now tell the difference between the garter stitch and the purl stitch. It's a much more refined looking stitch. It's still bumpy, but it's much more refined than the garter stitch. So what you'll want to do now from here is knit those 4 rows along the top, like I said, that match the bottom, and then you've got your border that goes the whole way around. So here we are, I have knit the last 4 rows, so the bottom now matches the top. We've got a nice garter stitch border, and all of these live stitches here are what we're going to be casting off in the next lesson. So I will see you then.